Now, everything depended on Lien's ability to lead his students out so they could move on to the second phase of their plan. Inside the base, Lien finally understood why he had to wait until midnight to leave. He ordered his students to get ready, telling them that the time to escape had come. They ran in groups toward the main hall. The electricity in the area had been cut off, plunging everything into darkness. The guards could only hear people moving but could do nothing about it. If they fired their weapons, they risked hitting their own comrades. Taking advantage of the situation, Lien successfully led his students past the guards. As they passed, gunshots rang out from where the guards had been positioned. Those who failed to stay close to Lien's group had likely become targets. Lien scolded them, urging them to keep running without looking back. If they hesitated, they would all die. He knew the path ahead was still long, and they would have to reach the nearest exit. Along the way, they might encounter more soldiers. Sure enough, just before reaching the exit, they came face to face with two soldiers standing guard. The soldiers struggled to see in the darkness, but before they could react, their heads were severed in an instant. Eliminated. Lien quickly ordered his students to continue moving up the stairs. Though they could hardly believe they were finally escaping, they also knew that nothing in this world ever came easy. Just as they thought they were in the clear, they found themselves face to face with Qinyuan's secretary, who was accompanied by a large squad of armed soldiers. As usual, the woman praised her leader, stating that he had been right to anticipate an escape attempt. She admitted that they had expected the new arrivals, mere peasants, to rebel and try to flee. However, they had never imagined that Lien would return to the base after escaping, just to save these unfortunate students. Lien tried to calm the woman down, suggesting they talk and negotiate. But she refused, declaring that betrayal of the Shinshan base could never be forgiven, a traitor would always be a traitor, and there would be no mercy. Before she could say more, a sudden gunshot rang out, piercing the skull of one of her soldiers. Zhang Yi had arrived, eliminating the guards. The secretary immediately ordered the remaining soldiers to focus their attacks on Zhang Yi and to kill him at once. Meanwhile, Lien ordered his students to stay put. He needed to help Zhang Yi. Without hesitation, he rushed forward and joined the fight, striking down the guards. The unfortunate soldiers found themselves trapped in a hellish battle, attacked from both sides, Zhang Yi and his elite team on one side, Lien on the other. Before long, the enemy was completely overwhelmed. Lien thanked Zhang Yi for his support, to which Zhang Yi responded that it was well deserved. However, he reminded Lien that there was no need for gratitude. He knew all too well that eliminating these soldiers wouldn't be easy. Lien had been attacking from behind, dealing the final blows to many of them. Zhang Yi then gave the order to retreat from the area. Lien's students, still shaken from the intense battle, were unsure of what to do next. Meanwhile, Secretary Julie pretended to hide, closing her eyes tightly in hopes that no one would notice her. But when she heard Lien's voice, she immediately tried to defend herself, insisting that it wasn't her fault, that she was merely a secretary following orders. Tian, who was nearby, stopped the woman in her tracks. She pleaded for mercy, claiming her innocence. But just hearing her words enraged the boy. Without hesitation, he performed a perfect operation on her vocal cords, silencing her forever, an act witnessed by his teacher, Lien. Lien felt proud that his student had become such an extraordinary surgeon. Now, Lien could finally thank Zhang Yi and ask for the second part of their agreement. Zhang Yi assured him that the guards at the entrance had already been put to sleep. He then took food and supplies from his dimensional storage to aid in their escape. However, Zhang Yi warned Lien to stay behind and help attack another section of the base. The students could escape on their own. Naturally, the students were terrified at the thought of leaving without Lien's protection. Zhang Yi explained that all the soldiers outside were already dead. But he also reminded the students that their enemies would surely send reinforcements to hunt down the escapees. Lien felt uneasy at the thought, but Zhang Yi's reasoning was undeniable. This was their perfect chance to eliminate the threat once and for all. Lien agreed to stay and join the elite team in destroying the base from within. For a moment, he hesitated, reflecting on Zhang Yi's words. Did he truly want to obliterate this base? He knew that many innocent people still remained inside. But in the end, he realized there was no other solution. He instructed Tian to lead and protect the students, promising to meet them later. With that, the group finally left the base. They were free. After deciding to help, Zhang Yi reminded everyone that their time was limited. He pointed out key strategic locations where they needed to plant explosives. Their group moved swiftly, wearing helmets and blending in with the soldiers, remaining undetected. When they reached the first location, Zhang Yi signaled that they could begin planting the explosives. Lien wanted to know how they could destroy such a heavily fortified place. Zhang Yi pulled out dozens of explosives from his dimensional storage and stated that he never questioned even a single grain of rice. The enemy had provided all the materials needed to destroy their own base. Once they had finished at that location, they continued their mission, planting more devices along the way. Lien tried to argue that they could simply kill Qinyuan's leader instead of blowing up the entire place and killing innocent people. He gripped his sword tightly, displeased by the thought of condemning the innocent. Zhang Yi paused for a moment before firmly stating that such an approach was impossible. If they only eliminated the leader, someone else would replace him. The real problem was the system itself. Lien had to admit that Zhang Yi was right. Zhang Yi insisted that it was better to destroy the entire base. Their conversation was abruptly interrupted when a squad of soldiers arrived and demanded to know who they were. One of the soldiers noticed an animal standing near the group and reminded them that pets were not allowed in the facility. Zhang Yi did not wait for their reaction. With a cold glare, he immediately fired a shot, hitting the enemy soldier directly in the forehead. The other soldiers, witnessing the sudden kill, tried to return fire. But Zhang Yi remained calm, using his abilities to deflect their attacks while waiting for the perfect moment to strike back. Lien observed this and recalled how Zhang Yi had once been nervous and uncertain when they first met. Now, he was completely different, calm, confident, and immensely powerful. The transformation sent chills down Lien's spine. The soldiers, realizing that they were up against a powerful mutant, called for reinforcements and ordered everyone to spread out. Zhang Yi smirked. "It's too late," he muttered. Using his ability, he summoned back the bullets he had stored in his dimensional space. The projectiles struck their targets with perfect accuracy. The few soldiers who survived tried to take cover behind their comrades, thinking they could hide and survive. Zhang Yi calmly tossed an explosive guava fruit, eliminating them all in an instant. The group continued running through the base, determined to complete their mission. The handsome young man remained alert. He knew they couldn't afford to stay here for too long. As he ran, he noticed the lights in the facility beginning to turn back on. Immediately, he shouted for everyone to get out as soon as possible. Meanwhile, inside his office, Qinyuan received the report that the electrical systems had been restored, and that Zhang Yi had infiltrated the base alongside the traitor, Lien. The leader donned his powerful armor, ready to enter the battlefield. Feng and his troops were furious, burning with a thirst for vengeance against Zhang Yi. One of Feng's soldiers pointed out that explosives had been planted throughout the facility. Enraged, Feng roared for the bomb squad to be called in immediately while ordering the rest of his men to follow him in pursuit of Zhang Yi. In one of the corridors, Lien's group found themselves cornered from both sides. Pamanu stepped forward, declaring that he would provide cover for everyone. He tensed his muscles, causing his shirt to rip apart before he charged at the enemy like an unstoppable bull. Pamanu was like a living tank, bullets bounced off his body, unable to harm him. He shouted for the others to move forward and continue planting explosives while he held off the enemy forces. He assured them that he would be fine. His body was incredibly durable, and his regeneration abilities were extraordinary. When a stronger group of soldiers decided to attack him with swords, Pamanu opened his arms wide and declared, "No one shall pass." They all attacked at once, only to be instantly overpowered. It was as if nothing had happened. They were like mere insects before him. Pamanu's attacks were so devastating that his enemies' bodies were left splattered against the walls. Witnessing this, Zhang Yi felt satisfied and smirked. Did they really think artificial mutants could compare to natural-born ones like Pamanu? Pamanu, still surprised by the destruction he had caused, hesitated. He hadn't realized that his attack had been that powerful. Turning to Zhang Yi, he expressed his desire to meet a true mutant, someone on his level, to test his strength. Zhang Yi, maintaining his calm demeanor, simply replied, "That is not something you should wish for." Before they could continue, the three of them were stunned when one of the most powerful mutants in the base appeared before them. Standing alone was a man with a peculiar mustache. Without hesitation, Zhang Yi attacked with his full power. But the man swiftly demonstrated why he was one of the strongest. His mastery over fire was undeniable. Flames erupted from his body, melting the surrounding walls. If they didn't move forward now, they would soon be trapped, until more mutants arrived. Zhang Yi asked Chunlei for assistance. Chunlei launched an attack using his powers, but the fire mutant easily dodged it. Realizing this, the fire mutant decided to use a special fuel he had created, one that would amplify his flames tenfold. As he ignited the enhanced fire, he boldly challenged everyone to withstand his attack. A blazing inferno surged toward Zhang Yi at an incredible speed. However, Chunlei's power successfully blocked the attack and even managed to wound the fire mutant. Seizing the opportunity, the muscular Pamanu prepared to strike down their enemy. But before he could attack, he was suddenly hit by an immensely powerful punch, sending him flying several meters backward. Zhang Yi was shocked. Standing before them was none other than Feng, the super-strong mutant he had believed to be buried beneath an avalanche. Seeing the person who had humiliated him before, Feng felt a surge of motivation to take his revenge. Hearing his uncle's voice, Zhang Yi quickly created a protective barrier to check if he was alright. The man who once craved a true battle to test his strength now found himself with a shattered arm, completely devastated by Feng's attack.